She said that we didn't have a lease, which we do not have a lease in place, but we did have an agreement for me to stay at the property beyond the initial Airbnb time frame.
All of the responsibilities are on me, and I can't get into my property. There's a leak in the property. The water bill is escalating. I can't get in there to see what's going on. The police allowed her to hire a locksmith and break in. She gave them no documents. She gave them no court orders. She gave them no lease. She just came and said, I'm locked out. This is taking me somewhere where I'm not trying to be. I'm trying to stay on the right, but for somebody to just take and do, everybody has a breaking point.
What if I told you that by renting your home on Airbnb for just 2 extra days, you could accidentally create a tenant, not a guest, a tenant that police can't remove, the platform can't remove them, and someone who can legally live in your home for nearly a year without paying a single dollar? Because that's exactly what happened in Washington, D.C. And if you host on any platform, this could happen to you too. Let's talk about the case of Roshane Douglas and the flaw in the system that almost no host sees coming on Airbnb. You know, most of us assume that Airbnb is there to protect us as hosts. We think we're part of a simple, safe transaction, a booking, a checkout date. And if anything goes wrong, Airbnb steps in. But the case of Roshane Douglas destroys that illusion. It exposes a weakness in the short-term rental system, one that most hosts don't know exists until it wrecks them financially. And the entire disaster hinges on one number: 30 days.
Roshane Douglas says she didn't know she was opening her life up to a nightmare when she accepted Shadija Romero's Airbnb reservation almost 10 months ago. That reservation ended March 29th after 32 days, and Romero hasn't paid another dime. But living in the home for over a month apparently lets her claim some form of tenant rights, and she refuses to let Roshane enter the property.
I never gave her any tenancy. I never gave her a lease.
Here's what almost no host knows. In cities like Washington, D.C., the moment a guest stays more than 30 consecutive days, the law reclassifies them. They stop being a guest. They instantly become a tenant with full tenant's rights. That's a big deal. That's like giving up all your legal power in that situation. And suddenly, Airbnb can't help you. The police can't remove them. You're no longer a host. You are now a landlord, whether you like it or not. Roshane learned this the hard way. Her booking, 32 days, just 2 days over the limit, and she lost complete control of her home, and her nightmare began.
The police allowed her to hire a locksmith and break in. She gave them no documents. She gave them no court orders. She gave them no lease. She just came and said, I'm locked out. This is taking me somewhere where I'm not trying to be. I'm trying to stay on the right, but for somebody to just take and do, everybody has a breaking point.
I went back to the property today and saw child services show up because Shadija brought her daughter into the home while there was no power or electricity inside. Police also showed up because the homeowner's truck went missing after Shadija got back in the house. And when Shadija cracked the door open to get a package, I saw what appears to be a candles and essential oils business inside.
Now let me show you how that 30-day rule was weaponized. When the stay ended, the guest, Shadija Romero, refused to leave. No lease, no security deposit, no background check. Yet the law treated her as the one with the rights. So when Douglas called the police, they told her it wasn't trespassing. It was a civil matter, meaning we can't do anything. Take it to court. You can imagine how frustrating that could be. And the interesting thing about this, Romero knew exactly how to exploit that. First thing she had to do was control the utilities. First, Romero allegedly transferred the utilities into her daughter's name. These mothers are slick. We've heard of this time and time again, of kids getting bills transferred in their name, having bad credit before they even get their first credit card, finding out later they got bad credit because they had some bill in their name. But that made it harder for Douglas to manage or even shut off basic services in the home.
That led to a virtual emergency hearing today. In court, it was revealed that Shadija tried to push Roshane off a ladder, took the utilities out of the homeowner's name and put it in her daughter's name, tampered with cameras, requested that Roshane pay her back for the food lost when the power was turned off. Oh, and she asked the judge if she could question Roshane as a hostile witness. I was with Roshane as she attended the hearing from her car outside the home.
Then Douglas, she tried a common landlord strategy, cash for keys. $2,500 for Romero to leave voluntarily. Romero took the money. She signed the agreement and still refused to leave. Diabolical. That's a calculated move right there. Shadijah knows the ropes of this. She's been here before, but we're going to get to that. But the next tactic that she used, and might be her most powerful one, she just waited. In DC, eviction is a slow process. It's designed to protect vulnerable renters, but in the hands of someone exploiting the system, those protections become weapons. And this wasn't Romero's first time. This wasn't her first rodeo. Court records show previous eviction cases at high-end buildings, the Jameson, Ava Noma, and others. Same pattern, same delays, same tactics. This isn't an accident. I think it's interesting, too, that they brought up that Romero is also an influencer of sorts. Now, she doesn't have a big following on social media, but from what I've seen of her Instagram presence, she seems to be very public about being in that property, squatting in that property.
She said that we didn't have a lease, which we do not have a lease in place, but we did have an agreement for me to stay at the property beyond the initial AirBNB time frame. So she's been back to the property almost every day. They installed signs.
Now, coming up what happened today is that there was an emergency hearing because of everything that unfolded. In that hearing, the judge did tell Roshane she has to turn back on the electricity. Now, there is another hearing next week where the judge will decide whether Shadijah can stay or if she has to go. Did you book the Airbnb with the intention of staying?
No, I did not book the Airbnb with the intent of staying.
So why are you still here?
Because after the repairs were done, the place still smelled like fire. And there was water damage. So the water damage was more substantial than the fire damage.
You didn't go back to your apartment because it still smelled like smoke.
And water damage.
And water damage. What makes you choose to stay here instead when the homeowner has made it clear she doesn't want you here, doesn't want to be a landlord? There's now no utilities on, there's wood boarded up, there's a sign outside saying she doesn't want you here. What's making you choose to stay?
So no, that didn't start until literally this month.
What didn't start?
The sign on the building or the utility, that wasn't something that happened prior to this point, prior to this month. So if that had happened months ago and that was something that I've been dealing with for months, I would leave. So now, with all of this going on, I am going to leave.
Romero says she is still going to have the Douglases go through the full court process to get her out because of what she says they have put her through and for labeling her as a squatter.
Squatter is someone who has illegally entered the property without your notice and you never had an agreement with them.
It's also not just if the home's vacant, it's if you're there without the owner's permission and you're not leaving.
Yes, if you had, maybe that other part is there.
Now let's talk about the part that almost destroyed Roshane, the money. Roshane was paying a $4,000 mortgage every month, plus utilities, plus legal fees for a home she could not access. She could not rent it out to anybody else. She could not put it on Airbnb for almost 10 months. Why? Because Shadijah just decided that her property that was available at the time was her new home. Shadijah Romero lived there for free. This is the problem. The system can't tell the difference between a vulnerable tenant, which I'm gonna be honest, I've got sympathy for tenants going through it. It's really hard, man. People have had issues come up like this a lot of times, but you can't tell the difference between a vulnerable tenant and somebody that's looking to come up off of you, to exploit the law in their favor. And by the time the courts finish processing the eviction, the damage is permanent. This lady almost lost her property. because of this whole situation.
The outcome of me having a big heart, but I really hope somebody can help her, but you can't do it at my expense. I don't have it. If the judge doesn't give me some release, I'm going to lose my property because I can't pay $4,000 a month and my other bills and my responsibilities like this. And there's no recourse for me.
With an Airbnb, an investment property, I know many people that have gotten into Airbnbs and had issues for many other reasons. Just a few hours ago, we got the update on the story that they actually went to court for this, and Roshane can now evict this lady.
How you feel?
I feel good. I'm thankful that this outcome was like this for me because I had that order that she signed, but it makes me very upset because if I didn't have the order, it seems like she would have been able to stay there and do this for months and months and however much longer. And other people who don't have the benefit of having such agreement, I can't imagine what they're going to go through in a situation like this. So I'm thankful for me, but I still think that something needs to be done.
What was it like for you to sit in that courtroom? She had a moment to question you. There were documents presented. There was a question of whether a payment she entered was fraudulent because there was no proof of it from the bank. What were your thoughts of just being in the courtroom with her? That's the first time you guys had seen each other face to face in a bit.
It was infuriating because I know I hadn't received a payment from her. This whole thing is coming about because she was not making the $100 a night payment, and for her to come up with a fake document that I confirmed. The judge gave us time to confirm that the document was not real, that Zelle had no payment history of this, and there was a fraudulent confirmation number on this document. So it's infuriating, and I think that something needs to be done because to present that in court after all of this as some kind of Hail Mary, I'm just glad the judge was able to see through it and I was able to prove that this was not true.
The judge said you can evict her right now. What are your plans? What are you about to do?
Evict her. She has to go. I need her out of the property so that I can try to regain the property and get back to my life. I was writing a book, working on a memoir, trying to do women's help organizations and things, and this has totally disrupted my life. So I would like to get back to the things that I could do to help the community, and I think God placed this on me too so that I could help in this area too. So I just want to get back to life.
You mentioned the community. Since our reporting, we've seen a huge amount of support, those that can relate to you, even those who need support in the housing system and their sentiments. What was it like for you to see the reaction to your story here in DC?
I'm so thankful for the support and that we brought this to light. I still am going to work hard and put a change.org document together for more homeowners that are going through this and try to really impact change with this. Like I said, I'm thankful for my outcome. I'm thankful for the court seeing it my way, but I know there are so many others that are struggling with this, and I'm not going to give up yet.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You know, she can get her out of that property, man. That's a good report on this. You know, because I felt for her. I felt the stress that she was feeling having to cover that note and her additional bills. Like, it was driving her to tears. You know what I mean? Like, that's crazy. That's insane. You come up in the world and you think you're doing something positive, and then somebody can easily just come in, sweep in, and take it from you and rob you of that dream. It's a shame. So here's a takeaway for every Airbnb host that's out here, or any aspiring Airbnb host, because you see a lot of videos that say you can make so much X amount of dollars if you start an Airbnb business. But just know, these are short-term stays. If you rent your home for more than 30 days, you're not in hospitality. You're in real estate. You might as well have a tenant. And with that comes along the risks of being in real estate, being a landlord, all the liabilities and all the responsibilities. And platforms like Airbnb will wash their hands of you, and they can't protect you from the local law. I mean, just think about it. It would be hard for them to do that because there's just so many jurisdictions to handle. I get it. I get why they can't do much, but this should be kind of baked into the warnings they give you. They can handle the bookings all the time. They can accept the money when it's being paid, but they cannot override tenant protections. And that raises a hard question. Are hosts truly prepared for the legal reality of long-term stays? For many, the answer is no. For Roshane, it was hell no. Cases like this are becoming more and more common. And if you're hosting in a high regulation city, you need to understand the laws before you list anything. Anyway, if you like this video, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification for all uploads. This is Faucette Media.